Do we take the Notre Dame offensive output against Duke to be valid in any way to make any connection? Okay, Notre Dame struggled to score. They were at 13 points forever until they scored a final touchdown to make it 21 and, of course, win the game.
I think there's something. I think there's something to it.
I'm not a big believer. I mean, I had somebody in my chat on Monday try and raise that question. And as I looked at the yardage comparisons, there was no major disparity really between what Ohio State did against Notre Dame to what Duke did against Notre Dame to what Notre Dame did against Ohio State to what Notre Dame did against Duke. There was nothing that really stood out. Duke ran for more yards against Notre Dame than Ohio State did. That kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. But to me, matchups are so different. It's hard to tell. I mean, you can't. I think if you looked at, season trends and what Notre Dame, let's say in 4 weeks does against 4 or 5 Power 5 opponents, and compared those stats to what Ohio State did against them, then, maybe you'd have a valid comparison and say Ohio State's deficient in this. And, Notre Dame can't do that. But one game comparison, I don't think you can really glean a whole lot from. And, last week was crazy. I had a friend, I'm not going to say who it was, but he had an eight game parlay. He had a $50 bonus bet on one of the books and Fanatics, and he put a lot of heavy favorites in this parlay. And on Friday, he hit Louisville and he hit Oregon State over Utah. And those were two kind of toss-up type games. And then he got into Saturday where he thought, well, I'll just play all the chalk. Wins everything up until Iowa losing to Michigan State, needs a 70-yard punt return to pull the game out. These were all money line picks. So just have to win, not the spread, just have to win the game. And here Iowa's going down in flames until they get a 70-yard punt return to turn that game around against Michigan State. And then they kicked a field goal, I think, at the end to add a little window dressing to it. And then Notre Dame is facing 4th and 16 against Duke. And Sam Hartman, who's, maybe not the most dynamic runner in the world, takes off and gets 17 yards and a first down. And then Audric Estime took it in for a touchdown after that. Notre Dame wins the game. So, Notre Dame coming off of Ohio State was in a real dogfight. And, perhaps they were in a bit of a letdown situation after playing Ohio State. I wonder about Ohio State having 2 weeks and everybody patting them on the back, and saying you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. You have arrived. You can do no wrong. Well, Maryland could come into Ohio Stadium for 3 quarters and play Ohio State dead even, and that wouldn't shock me one bit. So we're in for, I think, a real treat, I think, on Saturday.
I think that's where the extra week has helped Ohio State, because they've been able to come down from that and then get I agree they're probably getting patted on the back, but that happens maybe the weekend, the days after that. Now, like, reality has set back in that they need to get back to work. So I think the emotion of winning that game and then playing the next week is tough. And I think that also contributes to Notre Dame's struggles, but Duke is pretty good defensively. I will say that. Yep.
Very impressive.
Yeah. Notre Dame averaged a yard more per play against Duke than Clemson did. I don't know if that's, I don't know if comparing anything to Clemson's offense right now is good, but, they average like 6 yards a play against Duke, and it's not terrible. But I'm kind of with Steve, like, just based on one game, basically a 2 week sample size after an emotional win, I think there are a lot of extenuating circumstances there. But I'm impressed with Duke, and if Michigan State can get Mike Elko, I think that would be something right up their alley.
Doesn't sound like they're. Go ahead.
Steve. I was going to say there's not a lot of love between Ohio State and Maryland, and who's on that coaching staff there? Josh Gaddis, and Josh Gaddis had plenty of things to say about Ohio State while he was at Michigan. So it's one thing for coaches to sit there and say, well, we don't like those guys or whatever. I mean, and they can sit there and try and matriculate that down to the players and everything else. But I think that the open week came at a good time because you were able to clear the deck a little bit. Yeah, I'm sure there was, as Steve and Tony both said, a lot of backslapping and guffawing and everything else. And you guys are great and everything else, but you also had the opportunity to cut the players loose for a little bit and now bring them back in, hopefully get them refocused and have a better start coming out of an open week than traditional. But I mean, I think that's a problem that most programs face coming out of that. But I think that it would be more troublesome for me if they would have had to come out and play this game straight up coming right out of Notre Dame.
I think it shows good leadership by the coaching staff and kind of a change of culture. I think that they practiced Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the coaches trusted them to take Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. And a lot of those guys took advantage of that time to go back to their hometowns. And I know Luke Montgomery went to a game at Findlay on Friday night and was there to take pictures and be with people. And Luke Montgomery got in the Notre Dame game for 3 plays as a freshman and did a nice job there. But to me, the maturity of this team has kind of showed that, that they had the weekend off and we didn't hear anything about any of their exploits. So that was that's always a dangerous time when the boys are away from home for a couple of days. And by home, I mean the Woody Hayes Center. And, kind of left to their own devices. Everybody came out on the other end of it. It sounds like this team is 100%, including Marvin Harrison Jr. and his ankle, which somehow remarkably did not end in a terrible injury after what initially came up on the screen. Looked like it buckled a little bit, but seems to me like he's going to be practicing this week and in the fold for Saturday against Maryland.
I think it was those Louis Vuitton cleats. Is that what it
could have been?
I'm Gumby, damn it! I'm Gumby.
Yep, the danged old plyometric strikes again. So there you go.